On today's show, we are going to each share our favorite parts of the Bible with you, what that character has really maybe spoken to us even. And later, we're going to have Jill Conzo join us to talk about Blair County Keystone Family Alliance and how we can help in this organization.
So I had this memory this past couple weeks actually, because I'm about to embark on a little journey, and I was thinking back of when I was in band in 9th, 10th, and 11th grade. I twirled a flag, and in 11th grade we had a set on the field that was extremely difficult. I mean, it was actually grueling and painful, to say the least. And one of the things we had to do was we had to take this flag from the very bottom of the pole. We went swoosh, swoosh, brought it down and laid on the field just seconds before the marching band marched straight over top of our bodies. And I can't even tell you how many times we were stepped on, our hair was stepped on, our face. Sometimes we were tripped over, and sometimes we just got knocked over. It took so much practice to get that timing down. It was unbelievable. And band was one of those things that we went away to band camp for a week in the heat of the summer and marched so long that like your calves, you could barely tell you had calves. They were just numb. And we had in-school band camp and just practice in between all that practice every night. And it was grueling. And one of the other things we did that year, which was just crazy to me, was the band would line up from across the field, and the color guard would be one on each side. So I had a mirror person, and we would flip our flags to each other so they went flying over top of the band, and we would catch it. That was horrible. Horrible. So bad, we injured people because we didn't get it right, and that the band had to show up wearing their helmets to every practice until we got it down right because we were injuring people. But after all of those injuries, all of that practice, in the fall we went to this big band competition up in Erie, and we won grand champion, and there was just nothing that could compare to that. So I say all that to you because this year, for the first time in a long time, we're doing a community-wide Easter program, Easter play musical. And I knew that, and I thought, well, I'm going to go to the first practice, but I'm not going to be in that thing because I know how grueling it's going to be. I know the commitment that's involved, and to be quite honest with you, it can be painful. So I said, I'm going to go and check it out because I'll probably have a scene, something to do behind the scenes, but I'm not really going to be in it. And I walked in, and my old alto section was sitting in the back row. When I walked in, they went, "Yay!" And I just looked at them so snarky, and I'm like, yeah, well, I'm not singing. I'm not going to be in it. And they're like, oh, man. And I'm like, nope, not doing it. So I sat down, and we went through for the first time the play. You know, the parts were being read. We listened to all the music, and as I'm sitting there, I'm remembering plays of the past. And these feelings are coming back up inside of me because I know by listening to the music, I know what's going to happen during those moments in the play. And I was quickly reminded of the feelings that were being dredged up from me being in those plays, feelings of happiness, feelings of sadness. You know, I could remember Jesus walking down the aisle, you know, his big triumphant entry, you know, after he's risen from the dead, and how in a play, you know, when you're acting that out, it's so exciting. And seeing the crowd stand up and clap when Jesus comes in, and I was filled with all these emotions, and I suddenly realized before the practice was over that, yeah, I need to be in this play. I need to do this play because I have had myself convinced that I don't have time to be in this play. I don't have time to be annoyed. I don't have time for repetition. I don't have time to memorize these songs. But I laid all that aside, and I decided to be in the play. And just like all those years ago when I was in band and I got stomped on and tripped over and injured people. And we practiced those moves to the point that I was just so sick of it. There was a moment at the end of all that we were grand champions and we got to celebrate. So I'm choosing to do this play. I'm choosing to probably get my feelings hurt somewhere in the midst of it, because we're all people and we're all going to get tired. I'm choosing to give up my time, and I'm choosing to memorize every blessed song, every note, every word. And the week of the play is going to be grueling, but I'm going to do that. And I'm going to do that because you know what, guys? There is going to be nothing like that last night when we do that play, because for some reason the last time you give it your all, because you know it's the last time you're going to be performing it, and we're going to sing that big celebration song at the end, and it is going to be glorious. It is going to be glorious. So here we are back again this week, just 3 women with bold opinions, always backed by a biblical standpoint. So hey, let's talk about it.
This segment is brought to you by Harry's Construction, whose motto is, "If you can dream it, we can create it." They are the kitchen and bath design experts, so call Harry's Construction for all your remodeling needs.
When it's time for a new roof, Champion Roofing is your best choice. We're a certified award-winning roofing contractor, meaning your roof is done right the first time. Call today.
Champion Roofing, we're the solution.
Welcome back to Let's Talk About It. And sometimes we have those heavy questions, but other times I just want you to get to know who we are and some of our favorite things. So today we're actually going to talk about our favorite Bible stories, things that have stuck out to us as we read God's Word. And I'll share mine first and let you guys get into yours. As I was growing up, mine was always the book of Esther. Probably, that princess story and everything she had to go through. I just loved every part of it. And one of my favorite verses of it is Esther 4:14. It says, "For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place, but you and your father's family will perish. And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this." Such a time as this. That really always stuck out to me. That, God places us right in the perfect place at the right perfect time. And we have to then be willing to step into that. So that...
Yeah, whether we like it or not.
Right. Because she had hard choices.
No, that's right. That's exactly right.
She could have been killed, quite honestly.
Right.
But she chose because she knew she had to do what was right for her people. And so that's a big story for me that always sticks out. Growing up, some of the ones I really love now, I love the Old Testament stories. That's always been a big thing for me. When I've read through the Bible, though, and it's time to start over, it's like, where do you want to start? I always loved actually to start in the Old Testament because they're more stories than maybe the New Testament. And some of my favorites, obviously the whole Moses thing and that whole journey with the Israelites, because I always get mad at them, like, oh, why do you complain all the time? Why? Then I'm like, oh, well, that's me. Yeah, okay, I get it. So that's a big one. David, I love the story of David and that whole journey. And it could go on with, the Old Testament stories. But they speak a little bit deeper to me for some reason. But Esther's always been a favorite. How about you, Teresa?
Well, I'm kind of on that Bible journey, so I really don't know, because every day is something new and exciting, like literally something new and exciting. Even Psalms, because I'm reading in chronological order, so now the Psalms have a whole new meaning because they now fit. They're in their proper places, and that's kind of important to me. What girl doesn't like a great love story? So I kind of do love Esther in a way, and how that all transpired.
Another good one is Ruth.
I was just gonna say I love Ruth. So right now I'm just kind of really, really enjoying, like you said, the Old Testament. And trying to understand mankind and why we do some of the crazy things we do. And God is always there. He will not let us screw it up. Like he is greater than our greatest screw up. And that's one thing I've learned in reading the Old Testament so far.
It actually is almost like, well, okay, I'm maybe not as bad as I thought I was when you read some of that stuff. Like, yeah, they were doing crazy stuff and making bad choices, but God was able to, if they surrendered, you know, to redeem all of that. And
Right.
so that's pretty cool to see. How about you?
A lot of people have a life verse, and many years ago, 40 years ago, I chose Philippians 4:8. Think on these things.
Yes.
And that has always been real key for me because my heart engaged very early. I had a heart for God, but my brain, excuse me, and training my brain to think a certain way I had to be very, very intentional about that, and still do. But you can train yourself to Scripture.
Yeah.
You can train yourself to Scripture.
Yeah.
I have always thought the story of Job is very curious.
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one for me.
Yeah, it's so hard. And I look at his wife and how I think she's horrible.
Yeah.
She's horrible. Oh my gosh, I would probably be exactly like her.
Right.
What have you done? Why are you like this? What,
Yeah.
you know, curse God. I tend to look at the offside of things and say, oh, I wonder how I would have reacted, because I look at Jesus's life and I've always loved him so much. And I think, oh, I would not have been part of that crowd. But that's what his disciples said too. You know, I want to think, oh, I would have been one of the ones that stuck with him. But what I do now is I try every day, yes, I am walking with him, you know, and so I love his stories of when he's with his disciples and he's telling them things that they do not understand. It makes me not feel so bad when I do not understand.
Right.
I think I have some stories too now that I know the stories I absolutely don't like. And they all come from Judges, and and I think, oh, I could go the rest of my life without reading that story. But then I have to remember why that story is there. I have to remember the culture of the times, and get through that. And that was rough.
Yeah, Numbers for me is rough. I'm like, you know, so there are parts that obviously we enjoy more.
Absolutely.
And there's parts that are a little bit tough, but they are there for a reason.
Yes.
Yeah, if we're willing to dig in and
Well, and it's okay to just read it and say, I don't get this right now.
right.
And that's all right.
Right.
That's all right.
And that's why we talk about rereading his word,
Yes.
because maybe it didn't mean much to you this time, but the next time you read it, God could open up something totally that you didn't see before.
That's right.
Be like, wow, okay, now I get why this is here and why, you know, why it's in the word.
Do you always pray before you read?
Sometimes after.
yeah,
It's not always a consistent. It's either
Okay.
after or before.
Okay.
It's one of them. But
Okay.
And the journey I'm on, I'm supposed to always find a God shot. Well, when your whole chapter is nothing but genealogy of names you cannot even pronounce, you're like, okay, let me go back and let me revisit this. Why is this in here? Why is it important for me to read it? What is my God shot? And
you know what's funny about those say the names? I'm speaking the word out loud this year as I'm reading it.
Right.
Oh, if you would ever hear. If you would ever hear. It's like, what? And there was one time, it was a normal word, but I was speaking so many that I didn't know. When I got to that one, I said it and I'm like, well, I know that word. Why?
It sounds like a foreign word.
Yeah. So it's been interesting. But I just wanted to spend some time so you could hear some of our favorite stories and know that there is really good stuff in there. And don't look at it as something that you can't comprehend or that's so far gone or it happened so many years ago. Man, I'm telling you, it relates to today and it will help you. So get in that word and find your favorite Bible story.
New Life Worship Center's tax ministry is in their 13th year of serving. This is an organization who will do your taxes, and they only ask for a $30 donation to benefit local charities. They will e-file federal and state returns and complete local returns for you to mail in. They can handle everything from basic family returns to rentals and property returns. Contact New Life Worship Center's tax team on Facebook or by calling them today. Impact Productions, a multi-layer technology company providing on-site, online, and in-studio video services. Contact Impact Productions to capture your story.
Welcome back to Let's Talk About It. And today we have my friend Jill Conzo with us. First of all, before we get into the story of what you represent, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
First off, thank you for having me, ladies.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I'm a mom of three beautiful girls, and I'm a foster mom, and I'm also the Blair County coordinator for Keystone Family Alliance. And I've been married since 2004 for a really long time. So
Almost 20 years.
yeah,
Good
almost
for
20.
you.
Yeah,
Cool.
So
Yeah,
that's huge.
awesome. So yeah, you're the Blair County Keystone Family Alliance. That's what you work with. Tell us first, people might not even know what that is.
Yeah, it's a nonprofit that works with churches to bring in support for foster families. So of course we want to raise up awareness for foster families. It's needed, but mostly like raise up the awareness of everyone can support a foster family. You know, I truly believe fostering is a calling.
Yeah.
You know, on our lives, and not everyone is called to do that, and that's okay. But you know,
So
James,
you're saying if I do not feel called to be a foster parent, I can still be helpful to you?
absolutely. Fostering is beautiful, but it is hard and it is messy. So there is so much. When we got into fostering, we felt like overwhelmed, because you just immediately within hours get these little beautiful children, and you know, we have a family of our own and they all have huge needs. And our moms group, I just sent out a prayer request, pray for me, you know, and they showed up with just like immediately like bringing diapers and wipes and formula and clothes that were the right sizes. And that just took a huge burden off of us, because then we could focus on all the people in our house, you know, because our biological kids, they don't stop having needs
Right.
when we get foster kids.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And when you get a new placement, you don't know what those needs are. We have, we're given very little information about these children. So it's huge. So when they showed up and just stepped in a big way, like I didn't cook for probably 3 weeks. They did our grocery shopping. Some came in and did our laundry. It was just huge. And through that, we were like, why? How are other foster families doing this? You know, like
Because they don't have anybody.
yeah. And the truth is, like, when we started looking, foster families, that they get burnt out. They quit because it's hard. It's really hard. And we were like, this needs to be talked about within the churches. You know, like everybody can do something
Right.
to support. And it's so easy, like bringing that meal. Who can't take, you know, even if it's just a frozen pizza, a foster family appreciates it.
Right. And you talked about the burnout. That number's high, isn't it?
It is extremely high. Yeah, I mean, within 2 years, 90% will quit.
Wow.
So because it's tiring, and you may feel like you're called to do it, but I don't think anybody should be called to do it alone.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and it's a lot. So with that support, you know, and with our ministry that comes in and works with churches to provide that support for foster families and bring that awareness of how can Christ followers help these families, then it's like we retain 90% of those families. So the numbers completely reverse.
Wow.
And that's huge. You know, like that is making a difference. You know, for someone it might just be doing some housework and bringing a meal, but realistically you're helping another family stay to foster and to bring in those children that need homes. So it's
Now,
huge.
one thing, like when I first saw your name, Blair County Keystone Family Alliance, and what your mission is, I think I was a little confused at first, because just make this clear. This is not about you don't help put children places, right?
No, we are not a foster agency.
Right, okay.
No, we work alongside foster agencies, work alongside CYS, but work alongside, I just mean like, hey, how can we come in and help?
Right.
You know, like what support can we do? And CYS, we would love to come in and just provide them breakfast. And you talk about burnout, that they get burnout.
It's horrible with the county, the different counties in our area. They are carrying so many children on their caseloads.
Wow.
That it's really, they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be doing that. But Jill, how does it look when a church, if I call you and you, what's it going to look like?
Okay.
If we help you?
Churches that are interested in partnering, there's many ways to partner. You know, financially, if it's a nonprofit, so we rely on donations, but also setting up care communities within your church. And those care communities are what the support system is for a foster family. We just launched our first one, and it was so beautiful. Just to see a group of 5 people within a church, we train them so they know what to expect. And we set up, you know, like we have software that there's a calendar that they use. So everything is spelled out for them. So there's no question of, I want to help, but I don't know how to help, because that's huge too.
Yeah.
So within that church, we'll, you know, whoever's willing to be on a care community will come in, train them, get them ready, and then we'll set you up with a foster family. If your church has a foster family, fantastic. If not, we'll step outside of the church, and that's amazing too, because then you also get to be a witness. And
But we don't have, people don't have to know a foster family to come and be involved.
Not at all. Not at all. And that's also beautiful, because we make it work that you'll get trained, but then we like integrate you into that family. Like whenever we launched this care community, we had a meal together with all the volunteers and that family. They brought their kids, and it was just a time to eat together, get to know each other and laugh. And then just for that foster mom just to share with them like what her needs were and how they were going to help. And you could just see like the light bulb go off on them of like, oh wow, like this is really going to make a difference for you to keep doing what you're doing. And it's not much. It's not much whenever 5 take on one family just to help, you know.
What types of things cause burnout? I've never been a foster parent, so I'm sitting here thinking, okay, so I received this child. What is the process that you have to go through to adopt this person into your family, introduce them to your kids? And what is it that causes the burnout and the chaos?
That's a great
Those are
question.
really good questions. Yeah, really
That's
good
a
question.
really good question, because I feel like whenever you talk about foster care, we don't talk about the burnout too much.
Yeah, people think you're getting a baby and oh, how great that is.
Yeah.
But what is it that creates all of this chaos and burnout?
All of that.
Yeah.
First off, you're getting a child that you don't know much about at all, and they've got big feelings, big emotions. We don't know their background, so a lot has to go into that and their needs. Your door, like our house now, is an open door for caseworkers and, you know, therapists or whoever needs to come in on their regular occasion.
Wow,
so, you know, that
Yeah, you got all these people.
that invades the schedule like big time. But I mean, now we've made beautiful relationships with all those caseworkers, but also it cuts into our schedule a lot, and family time, and there's court dates. And all of
and
that.
a lot of times kids are getting counseling or they need to see a doctor regularly. All of
Because
those
who
things.
knows what they came
That's
from.
exactly right.
Yeah.
And you still have your girls, your biological children, who are doing their school things and their stuff.
And that's another thing a care community can step in and just help with transportation, because that's a huge thing too, even if it's my own kids, you know, so I can take these foster children to their doctor's appointments and things like that. And a lot of it is playing catch up with, you know, see what their needs are with doctors and things like that. But it takes over your schedule, and you kind of just lose a little bit of yourself a little bit through that. And we have adjusted to it, but it's just still, it's huge. And there is a little bit of sense of like, gosh, I can't remember what it was like to be like a normal family, to be able to do these things, but not to say that we would never say like we wouldn't want to do it, because it's beautiful.
But that's how you know that is your calling. This is your ministry.
Right.
It doesn't feel you don't constantly think, how can I get out of doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the way, something you're called to, because we are each called to something different.
Right.
Some
Absolutely.
to come walk alongside, some to be right down in the trenches.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So if you were to say a couple things that right now this is what this ministry needs, what would they be?
I would say for churches to get involved. Just say, how can we get involved? And awareness. People just truly aren't aware of what the needs are. It's not total ignorance. It's just, I didn't know before becoming a foster parent. And we just felt God lay that heavy on our heart of this needs to be told. Like we need to come alongside others so they can, live out their calling.
Good. Well, I want to tell you guys, this is a great organization and it's a great way to help these families so that 90% number changes.
right.
So get connected, whether it be through prayer, helping with diapers, a gift card to go out, whatever it is, we can do the little things that help these families keep going. When we come back, we'll have the tip for the day.
Hey y'all, it's Dano. Check this out. Hey, we got some exciting news. Dano on the Counter, Season 2 on Fox 8 at 8 a.m. Make sure you check it out.
Okay, so my tip this week is my tips are kind of weird anyway. And that's because my partners give spiritual tips, but mine today is more of a guilty pleasure. I love sweets, I love cake, I love all of it. So I've tried to find a way that I can kind of have a guilty pleasure from time to time without totally going off the cliff. And one of the ways was I found this little recipe that you can actually make a cake in a cup, in a mug. And you take a box of your favorite cake mix and a box of angel food cake mix and put it in a big bowl and just mix up the dry ingredients and keep it in an airtight container. Well, I have that in my pantry, and whenever I want something sweet or I want a piece of cake or something and I don't really want to bake a cake, I just get out that little container and you put 3 tablespoons of cake mix in a coffee mug, 2 tablespoons of water, mix it up, put it in the microwave for 1 minute, you take it out, you have this little piece of cake in a cup. And I've just learned to do all kinds of crazy stuff with it. I've put whipped cream on it, I've put sprinkles in the cake mix. Sometimes I don't do anything with it. Sometimes I put strawberries and a little bit of whipped cream and make it like a strawberry shortcake. But it's just a way to have a little guilty pleasure without going crazy. And sometimes there's just 2 of us at the house, so there's no need to bake a big cake. But I also was thinking, I have a granddaughter now, and just how fun that would be. If you have kids, there's no mess involved. You just give them a mug and say, hey, bake yourself a little cake, and they can do that, and they're not wrecking your kitchen. And so that's my tip for today, is just a way to have a little guilty pleasure without totally crashing and burning on it. So not very spiritual, but it's still fun. So see you next week on Let's Talk About It.